welcome to the EST Hangout.
This is the EST Hangout, and today's guests are...
It's Tuesday. Welcome to the EST Hangout, presented by Two Hoots Hard Ice Tea, Real Brew Tea, big taste, bold refreshment. Don't just give a hoot, give two. YouTube Trev into the Two Hoots already today after doing a morning show. He now gets to slide into the Hangout. Matt Iwanyk with you here, and joining us from Heavy Hockey, Oilers Live, which you can catch Wednesdays here on the station. It is Dash. He's returning with his 9th appearance, you said.
Ninth
appearance. There you
nice.
go. Ninth bad.
Bringing it full circle. My first time was with YouTube, Trev.
That's awesome.
And you said, "Are you ready?" And we said at the same time, "We're born."
Oh yeah, that's exactly right.
We're born ready.
We're born ready.
And it happened again.
Yeah, that's right. I actually forgot about that. That's so good.
That was the day I decided to adopt Trevor. We still
Look
haven't
at how
finalized
things
the paperwork,
come.
but it's coming.
Did we just become best friends? Yep, that's exactly what we did.
Sure did.
There's one topic for today. There's one thing we're going to get into, Trev. You've already been discussing it a bit with Dusty and Lieutenant Eric. Let's just get into Hangout Headlines, which is brought to you by the Ranch Golfing Country Club, offering premier conditions, top-notch service, unmatched value. It is the place to go golfing this season. Book your tee time, theranchgolf.com. How this is going to play out today, we're going to take you on the Hangout up until 10:30 when we'll carry the press conference live of Jeff Jackson and Stan Bowman, as Stan Bowman has been hired as the general manager of the Edmonton Oilers, along with executive vice president of hockey operations. So he doesn't just get the GM title. He gets an executive VP title of hockey ops as well. Once that ends, we will, if there's time before 11 o'clock, we'll just quickly get you to 11 o'clock. There will be no lock shop today. We'll go extended oil stream. Full coverage here on Edmonton Sports Talk of this hiring of Stan Bowman by the Edmonton Oilers. There's a lot to get to, a lot to discuss, a lot to say about this. I'm going to say this right off. What we'll do to start, and I kind of gave you this heads up a little bit to use a dash. We'll separate the hockey part of this for later. We can talk about Stan Bowman as a general manager, hockey-wise, a bit later. But overall, Dash, I'll start with you. Your thoughts on the news today of the Edmonton Oilers bringing in Stan Bowman?
I mean, I probably have to get the seats of my car detailed, because when you sent me the text about what we were talking about, I was driving here and had no idea it happened. So I'm still in shock a little bit, to be honest. This is not what I expected. I just don't understand it. I guess I'm still trying to process it, but it just doesn't make any sense to me right now. I don't understand why you'd want the distraction. First things first. I don't know why you'd want the reputation. We're already the team of second chances. And that's fine, I guess. Except 3 of these second chances have sexual abuse allegations now, and I don't know. I just feel like this is allegedly or whatever, but it's hard to swallow, man. It's hard to swallow. I'm not happy, and I honestly, after what the team did with the prices in the playoffs, we're a season ticket holder, our family, and I was already annoyed, and they're making it hard to love this team like I want to.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
I mean, yeah, my head hasn't stopped nodding this whole time. I'm so disappointed. I don't get it. I don't think I'll ever get it. It's there's so many ways you can just look at this and just be I don't know. It doesn't make any sense, Matty. I really hate this decision for so many reasons. It's not just it's a distraction. He doesn't deserve the second chance. I don't get why he's the guy. Is there no better guy? Jeff Jackson's his quote, which we'll get into. I'm sure Dusty read it though, but the whole time I'm just he's just digging himself a hole. And it's bigger and bigger and bigger. It's saying class, we stand, but it's that does not represent class. Bringing in someone like this, and even Zach, he tweeted about it. I'm all for second chances, but to this level of a second chance, it's okay, here you go. And Dusty talked about it as well. You get to manage Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl And then the question marks going forward is like, what does it do to Connor? What does it do for Leon Draisaitl? They talked about it. Jeff Jackson was like, oh, for as far as contract negotiations go, as soon as we have a general manager in place, that's when we'll start negotiating with Leon. It's like, how's that gonna like transpire going forward? I'm curious, do the players get a say in this? Does just Jeff Jackson ask Connor McDavid, like, hey, this is what I'm thinking?
Let's hope the press conference goes better than it did with Ken Holland.
Yeah.
Remember Jackson
absolutely.
and Holland? Hey, did you guys consult McDavid? Yeah. No.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
The contradiction.
Stan, did you guys talk to Connor about this? Oh, absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, just so much, and like it's hard, and like that's the thing. Like it will be interesting to see what goes down at this press conference, what is said. I'm very curious. Obviously, everyone is, but it's just like you can't defend. Like, I don't know. Can you defend a guy like this? Like, are you an a-hole for trying to defend a guy like this? There's so much that goes into this, and like as a fan, this is obviously not the biggest part of it, but you're gonna have other fans from other teams just ripping your team apart, and you can't be like, no, well, this. No, you're going to be like, yeah, well, you're not wrong. So will it deter a few fans away? Maybe not a lot, but like I'm kind of held back. Like I'm not happy. Like as a fan, like I'm like, this is a joke. Like it is. What a joke. It's ridiculous. So yeah, there's so many angles you can look at this. It's embarrassing. It's not deserved. I'm blown away, but at the same time, I'm not, because I'm like,
yeah, right.
I'm like,
isn't
the
that
Oilers,
the craziest part of
I'm
it,
just
Trev?
like, I'm like, the Oilers, I don't like, they're not going to do this, but then in the back of my mind, I'm like, they could actually do this, like
Oilers be Oilers.
yeah, that's essentially it. So it's some things I guess never change, which is unfortunate. I don't know. There's a lot to dissect in this.
The quote that you're referencing from Jeff Jackson as the Oilers announced this is, quote, "I'm excited and pleased to be welcoming Stan to the Edmonton Oilers. I believe his vast experience and proven success in this role, together with the important work he has done in his time away from the game, fits our goal of being best in class when it comes to all facets of our organization. Through our many conversations, we share a common vision of where we are as a team and what is required to achieve another Stanley Cup title," end quote. The thing that's not mentioned in that quote is, outside of saying he's done important work in his time away from the game, not saying that you're not saying he bettered himself. You're not saying he's learned from second chances. You're not referencing anything that is going to be brought up today at this press conference. Here's the thing, though, with the Oilers is that they can do this, and they can keep doing this because fans will keep supporting them. Fans will keep showing up. Will they lose a little bit of support? Sure. For the most part, though, fans are still watching. Fans are going to still pay. The Oilers will make the playoffs next year. The Moss Pit will be full. The rink will be full. Bars will be full. And everyone's just going to follow and cheer on this team. They can get away with this because they know there's actually almost zero repercussions for doing this. That's where they stand in the city of Edmonton. That's where they stand in this
that arrogance
marketplace.
Is sickening, though.
But it's not arrogance, it's the truth. Like, that's not arrogant. They could actually, they're not going to see a real significance of blowback in terms of the financial aspect or eyeballs on their team.
It's certainly skirting the line on arrogance.
Sure, but it's they can do.
Maybe it's backed up, but it's.
But okay, it's a bit of arrogance, but it's also just they know what the reality is. They could get away with almost anything. Look, this is an organization that owed $5 million to Boyle to rebuild Boyle Street, and they have not paid that. And it took the federal government to step up to give that $5 million for that construction to begin.
Yeah,
that's what this and that doesn't get thrown out there by a lot of people, but that's what the Oilers do, and that's the arrogance. But in this situation, they're like, people will be upset today. There's going to be blowback today. People are going to be upset. Anytime Stan Bowman's name is mentioned now moving forward, people are going to be upset about it. But people are still going to watch the Edmonton Oilers. People are still going to care about the Edmonton Oilers. When we get around trade deadline, people are going to be upset more so about, well, why aren't they improving this team? Or how are they improving this team before anything else? That's where this team sits right now in this market. And that's how they can get away with this, and that's why they could do this time and time again, is what's stopping them from doing this?
The blowback will disappear just like it did with Evander Kane. The blowback will disappear just like it did with Corey Perry. The blowback will disappear because in hockey, the culture is winning fixes everything. And winning is everything. And winning is more important than anything. Right? I think like probably the biggest reason this entire thing was covered up is because that it was, John Doe, Kyle Beach came out during the second round of the playoffs in 2010. They won the cup that year. No.
Well, winning
winning
mattered more.
So do we need... Which NHL franchise in the history of hockey wants a distraction in the second round of playoffs as you're about to sweep the Canucks, as you're about to win your first Stanley Cup as an original six team in how long? Every hockey, this is the flip side of it. Was he caught up in the rigmarole and whatever was happening? And, I guess maybe collateral damage, as it said, maybe. I don't think he hired the abuser. I don't even want to say his name. BA. Right? He was in the organization before Bowman got there. So it's not like he's responsible for hiring the guy. But he also knew it happened. He also didn't say anything about it. He also gave him the option to resign instead of being fired. He also gave him his day with the Stanley Cup. He also gave him his Stanley Cup bonus.
I forgot about the day with the Stanley Cup.
So he's not guilty as in the main culprit, but he's not innocent. And that man's life is destroyed. Kyle Beach's life is destroyed.
In the end, there's the Sheldon Kennedy respect group. They did post the letter of support for Stan Bowman of what he's done, which I credit Stan Bowman for. I will give credit to Stan Bowman that he tried to improve himself as an individual, tried to grow from this. The thing is, second chances do matter. You deserve second chances. Is a general manager job in the National Hockey League, let alone the Oilers general manager job in the National Hockey, where the Oilers
Dusty said it. You just got the best job in the entire NHL.
It's a privilege. It's not a right to be in the NHL. Stan Bowman deserves a second chance. Go find another line of work. Go work somewhere else, and that's your second chance in life. Your second chance does not mean, wow, you get to be a general manager again in hockey. Because how many people would love to be a general manager in hockey? And they can't go get that job just because Stan Bowman has done it, he's now allowed a chance to go do it again because, he deserves that second chance.
Babcock was equally disliked, and he went to U of S.
Yeah, you could point to that. Babcock didn't change in the end, but he did go to the U of S for a little bit. But even to me, it's Stan Bowman should just be out of hockey in a sense. I think he's got a financial background or something. Go work in banking.
Yeah.
Go spend some time as a teller.
Yeah.
Or go do something. There's a lot of other careers you can go get into then if you want, which isn't the national. Sports is a very special job. It is a dream job for the majority of this world.
There's a difference
to be somewhat involved with it. Because, how many of us would give an arm or whatever it is to play a game in a professional league or coach a team or be a general manager of a team? Yeah. We have our entire business that Edmonton Sports Talk is surrounded by these sports teams. We don't do this for almost any other industry in the world. This is a very unique thing to be in sports. And I also believe that in sports, then you have a societal responsibility to send the right message. And here's the Edmonton Oilers sending a very poor message to me across that.
Yeah.
We'll just give the best job right now, maybe, one of the best jobs in the National Hockey League, to this guy because he's been gone for 2 years. It's good. It's fine.
Yeah, but it just, I don't know. It says a lot, kind of who the person he really is. I know everyone's different, but you got to think he wants success for this team. Do you actually think that he's going to provide success to this team, knowing it's such a distraction for the players going forward? He has to think about that.
Well, but is it going to be a distraction for the players? Is it going to be a distraction for the players? The players will be asked about this
all season long.
It'll be a training camp, and that's it.
Yeah, I think they
so?
agree with Matty.
You get one shot at it. The media will get one chance to go to McDavid. They'll get one chance to go to Leon. They'll get one chance to go to Nuge.
Otherwise, they're beating a dead horse.
And then it's over.
Or
there's nothing else to say.
Or they'll get blackballed.
That's it. I guess the distraction
social
goes
media
away.
wise, it'll be all season long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's probably
fair. But with that, people still say things about Bob Nicholson.
Yeah.
He's still in the organization.
Those people do mention Bob Nicholson and the fact that, we've never really heard him talk. And they
he
got to
still
Game
has a
7
job.
of the Stanley Cup final.
He still has a job with the Edmonton Oilers in a very high-paid position.
I will also I want to make sure I get this out there before I forget. Today is Mark Spector's Golf Classic.
Yes.
11th annual in support of Sports Central. Great cause. They've raised a lot of money for Sports Central. And this isn't, I don't care what people think about the media. The one thing I will defend the other media is that on days like today, they actually do ask some pretty good questions and some pretty fair questions.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in my gut the Oilers announced this today because that tournament is happening.
Oh, Jackson's not stupid.
They know that there's a fair amount of media that would be at that tournament. And those members of the media will have to make some sort of decision today of whether they have to stick it out because people paid to golf with them type thing, or they have to ditch that to go cover this. And there will be some people that won't be able to leave the golf to go cover this. And there will be less media now to ask Stan Bowman and Jeff Jackson the questions. I do believe that the Edmonton Oilers did this on purpose. To me, Mark Spector, I don't think in any way, shape, or form will be able to leave that tournament. It's his tournament, and it's for a great cause. I just don't see how he'll be able to leave it. And there's just one veteran media voice. Again, I don't care what you think of Mark Spector. But there's one less voice to being able to ask a question in that press conference. And the Oilers did that on purpose.
And these are the questions you want to know.
The Oilers did that on purpose. That is my belief. That is
zero chance that was not on purpose.
It would be such a coincidence.
Zero chance. We know how Connor and the group feels about Spec.
They're also really smart. Like Jeff Jackson's a smart individual.
So it's a way to keep it under the radar a little bit. Which I don't know how you keep this under the radar. It's like announcing a trade during the Stanley Cup playoffs or something, like there's a distraction there. And
there's bearing your news. And this has happened in many different ways. There's a reason the NHL announced that these three individuals are eligible for reinstatement on the day of July 1st. Because we're all talking about the free agent signings, and they're able to bury it a little bit. Now, is it going to be talked about? Absolutely. Are we talking about Stan Bowman? Absolutely. Will there be members of the media asking questions? Absolutely. But if you could just keep a couple of people away, a few less tough questions maybe being asked.
Tommy going to be there, though.
Tommy will be there.
If that is the case, they're kind of just admitting to their own failure, which just
well, Jeff Jackson locked his Twitter account last night.
Yeah,
that's it was not
so
locked
greasy
before, and it's now locked. And somebody in the message said it was last night, but today, at the very least, it was locked today. Eric said on the air. That says everything you need to know about what they were expecting from this decision. When you're Jeff Jackson, is that the moment you're now locking your Twitter account, you know that people are coming at you.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to do that when you're hiring a general manager for your team. You really shouldn't. You should not that should be the first thing. You're just oh yeah. I don't know.
Look at Pagnotta and others have given us speculation that perhaps this Draisaitl extension is already done. Maybe they're not going to announce it until after the wedding. But they announced this today? I don't think it's by accident that they announced this today, but they're going to hold off on other news until after the wedding and not have that distraction for the players. But now they have this distraction for the players. Or was he holding off on the other news because he wants to be able to have Bowman announce the Draisaitl extension? Here's a golden goose for you if you need some popularity.
So they won't announce an extension today.
No, not today, but that's what I say. They're holding that news till after Connor's wedding, and one of the first things Bowman gets to announce is, I've extended Draisaitl.
See, and I don't think Bowman can announce that. I think you would have to wait a while to announce that one. I don't think...
Nobody in the right mind knows they could do it in a week.
Bowman it's going to take a while to get the anger away from fans enough where, again, the fans will... I don't think it will ever go fully away of their thoughts of Stan Bowman. But their love of the team will still be there and they'll watch the team. But I don't think you could put Stan Bowman in front of the media a week from now or 2 weeks from now still. It would have to be Jeff Jackson.
Yeah.
Because I don't think people they don't want to see him. They don't want to hear from him.
The fan base is too smart anyways. But he's not just getting the best GM job in the league with the best team in the NHL right now. There's only, 2 GMs in the history of the NHL that have won a Stanley Cup with 2 different teams? We're just going to hand that to Stan Bowman here. Now you're the 3rd GM ever in the history of the world. It's bullshit. Sorry.
It's not a good look. I don't like it.
I don't like it.
It's and like this is exactly like going forward, you know, being an Oilers fan, I kind of talked about this, like trying to defend it. You can't really defend this. And like the players now, like, you know, going forward as well, you talk about them, just it won't be talked about that much, but like what their initial thoughts are going to be. Like they have to be careful with what they say, I imagine.
The other players, they'll get coached up on this.
Yeah, but like they shouldn't have to be. They shouldn't have to be. Like that is so annoying. This should have been a great day, and that's the thing that's really frustrating about this is Jeff Jackson was having the summer to remember.
Totally.
One of the best, like, since I've been following this team, I've never been more happy as an Oilers fan.
It's the best free agency ever. I don't think there's a
He
doubt
lost
about
a
it.
lot of goodwill today.
But like this just brings it down so much. It really does. And unfortunately, all the great signings, everything that he did, this summer will now be known as, for the most part, the summer that the Oilers hired Stan Bowman.
It's like 3 steps forward and 2 steps back.
Yeah. Oh, it's frustrating, Matty. It's really frustrating, you know?
Yeah, no, I
hate this.
The Oilers, it just seems like any moment that their things are going to turn around, they do something like this.
I feel like this was the turnaround. Like, I feel like the Cleveland Browns of hockey for so long now, you know, like the bad things always happen in Edmonton. Oh, we're losing a draft pick, and then they change the rule, and then we lose a draft pick for Neil, and they change the rule. Like, it's just always these bad things happening. Then Jeff Jackson steps in, and all of a sudden it's like, holy crap. Finally, we're the team that had the best offseason. Like, this has never happened for our franchise. Funny what going to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals does for you.
But this is also just the case of the Oilers can get away with this because they're a good hockey team right now. It's kind of different with Evander Kane. The Oilers were able to get away with bringing in Evander Kane because they were a bad hockey team. Well, I shouldn't say bad. They were struggling at the time.
You could sell the need.
Yeah, absolutely. That's how you could do it.
We don't need Stan Bowman.
If the Oilers were in a much higher playoff spot, I don't think Ken Holland brings in Evander Kane at that time because why risk a good thing that's happening on the ice? Here it's kind of the reverse with management. Things are really good. Fan base is excited about this free agency. They went to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final. There's a lot of hope for next year. You can get away with this because the fans aren't going to turn away. If the Oilers were a poor hockey team, if they were the Calgary Flames at this moment in terms of standings or decade of darkness, you can't get away with that one because fans would be like, it'd be a lot easier for them to be like, we're good. We won't pay for these tickets. Mm-hmm. We will walk away at this point. Mm-hmm. And the Oilers see that as the opportunity. They saw that as the opportunity to bring in Stan Bowman, and they're doing it. And almost nothing will stop them because, like, look, could Oiler fans do a lot to try to make the Oilers feel worse about this hire? Absolutely. Go have fire Stan Bowman chants in the stands in Game 1.
Yeah.
As a crowd, you know, you can still go support the team, but go and stand there and chant fire Bowman and stuff. Do that game in and game out until something changes. At some point, the Oilers will change. They will make that move. Yeah. I've seen that in soccer. Yeah. Where if you do that game in and game out, it's all anyone in the media is going to talk about. It's like, oh my God, the Oilers beat the Vancouver Canucks. I can't remember who Game 1 is this year. 3-2, but throughout the entire first period, it was fire Stan Bowman chants. And Game 2, same thing. Game 3, same thing. And it's a poor look. The Oilers will eventually have to be like, well, we can't continue with this.
Yeah.
But will that happen? My guess is no. No. So there are ways to go and force them to change their mind on this. I just don't think we'll see it because eventually people will not stop caring, but the anger will come down. Yeah. The temperature will drop.
Like, why couldn't they have just brought Keith Gretzky back up to the big club? And if you're going to do this, put Bowman in the bake or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, you might as well hire Quenneville as associate coach. Like, why stop here?
Well, Sobe Kirk had an interesting question in the nasty chat. Let me see if I can pull up. Do we think the Oilers liked Bowman before reinstatement? It smells like the Oilers had a part in the reinstatement even.
I saw that. Yeah, I mean...
I wouldn't be shocked by that. I wouldn't be shocked that the reason the NHL... we had heard rumblings about reinstatement for a while. But it wouldn't shock me that finally the reinstatement happened was because the Oilers went, we want to hire Stan Bowman.
We're the only team with a GM vacancy.
And that's why the NHL dropped
Tommy.
that at that moment was, oh, okay, team's ready to hire one of them. We're good to go.
Right.
I don't think that there was another reason to do that.
Like, does Cates have that type of influence, like a Wirtz family or, the owner of the Rangers or the
He might.
Bruins? I don't know if he does.
Daryl's been a very quiet owner. It doesn't cause problems for the NHL or anything.
He's one of the wealthier owners.
Been around for now long enough. He might. But I wouldn't be shocked if the Oilers went, we're interested in Stan Bowman. And they went to the NHL about it, and then the NHL went through this, and it helped push this along to get the reinstatement going. But now it's okay. If Stan Bowman's hired, when is Joel Quenneville able to be hired?
Like, I was just annoyed last week because I was looking through. I was like, oh, I wonder, maybe they'll hire from within. And I'm looking, okay, Billy Moore does the cap, and Keith does this, and pro scouting is ran by, and I actually didn't realize Bob Nicholson was still on staff.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly, that was the first time I even noticed that. Like, I kind of had thought, oh, he was replaced and moved on, and but now he's got this special advisory role. Well, what did we do? Like, all we did is take him out of the spotlight, take a low label off of him or a job title off of him, and you probably got a frickin' raise.
Yeah, it's diving in, I don't know if, just hypothetically though, speaking, the Oilers hire Bowman, and like going forward, I don't know if this is how it is, but if you're a GM on another team, do you think another GM really wants to make a trade with this guy? Like, do they look past the what he's done in the, like?
They do.
Yeah.
They do.
They do.
Because all their concern is winning and what they can do for their team.
Now. The NHL's allowed this. They don't have to. You don't have to like who you're talking to on the other side. You just have to try to get the best trade possible for your team.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. They're not gonna have a conscience now.
Yeah. It's
This text from Gordo. Geez, you guys don't even know all the details. Cervelli said this morning he doesn't believe Stan knew much. Let's see what he says in an hour and go from there. Well, one,
I read all the documents.
The documents are there. The investigation is there. We could read that. He knew something. There's some stuff in you, but also on top of that, you think Stan Bowman's going to tell you the full truth today? I'm not saying he's going to lie today, but there's a difference between saying the full truth and saying just partial truth, not giving it all out there. So if you want to believe that just Stan Bowman is going to be fully truthful, I'm sorry, you're a little naive today. He's going to be well coached in what he's going to say with everything. And there are documents about what happened there. So,
I mean, it's all on. There's statements of facts everywhere. I mean, Brad Aldridge didn't just sexually abuse him. He threatened him physically. He threatened him emotionally. He told him if he didn't do what he was supposed to do and wanted him to do, he was going to bust his knees with a baseball bat that was in his office. Like, this is something that was brought up to the GM by the skills coach. It was the skills coach that Kyle went and told first. He told him later on that day, and it got word back up to Bowman by, I think it was game 2 or game 3 of the second round versus Vancouver.
You don't have to like every move your team always makes. I'm just going to throw that out there to some people that just want to now just go defend this decision just because the Oilers did something here. You don't have to just always defend your team's move.
I've defended more than I...
It's okay to be critical.
Yeah, I mean, this is as upset or disappointed. Like, I'm not even mad. I'm just disappointed.
Because I think for most people, it was expected.
Yeah, because I can throw my surprised face on and sarcasm, but I'm shocked, but not. It's just the way that we seem to do things.
The other part to this, that now, if we separate everything else and we just go to the hockey part of this, is Stan Bowman a good enough GM?
I don't know if we know that. I mean, we're not in his phone calls. We're not in his negotiations.
Did he do anything in his time in Chicago?
He gave Kane and Taves too high of a salary.
He did sign Seth Jones to the big contract.
Yeah.
He
didn't draft
the market.
Kane, Keith, Taves.
The large part of that
or Seabrook.
He was given a good
group
team.
In one sense
he's given a good team here.
Mm-hmm. You know what? Like, he was given the luxury of, like, sure, they were in cap trouble. Sure, they had to pull some nifty moves when it was Dustin Bufflin out and who was the big lug they had the next year that ended up scoring 30 in his replacement. It's like they seem to have these plug and play players where guys could come in and fill those roles really easily at a low price. Well, I mean, that's what happens when you are expected to go to the Stanley Cup Finals. Players want to play for a team like that. So, I mean, was that Stan Bowman's doing, or was that the fact that just like Henrique, just like we're seeing right now, players want to play for a team that might win? Did Bowman do that? I don't know. He didn't draft those players. He made some decent moves and some decent trades, but I think you've got, like I said, that advantage at your hand when you're a winning team. He traded Panarin for
Brandon Saad.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, Panarin, like, he had a career year that year. I kind of defend that one because he was, like, they couldn't have afforded him, so he bet on Brandon Saad. Ended up not turning out. But, I mean, you're in that position any GM's probably going to do the same thing. Maybe not Brandon Saad, but you had to get rid of him. They wouldn't have been able to afford Panarin. But as far as that's the thing. Like, he has some rust. I'm not going to pretend like I know exactly his resume, like what he did and what he didn't do as far as transactions go. But I like to think that there is still better options out there, or at least...
Well, I mean,
Jeff Jackson's already made the moves we needed to make. Like, what do we need him for at this point?
Yeah.
You could have just kept someone, Keith Gretzky. You could have, Brett Holland's still with this team. You could have went with Bill Scott. All this GM is going to be right now for at least
Paul Coffey. I don't give a shit.
But for the next couple of years, this hire is just you're a caretaker.
Just someone there. Yeah.
And ultimately, in the end, there's nothing you're going to be able to fully do without Jeff Jackson's full approval. Mm-hmm. You can make small moves maybe fully, but you're going to want to make a trade at the deadline. Jeff Jackson's going to be involved. There's no question. Like, you're doing the Leon Connor contract. Tommy keeps mentioning it. Those contracts, they're going to be done by Daryl Cates and Jeff Jackson anyways. Mm-hmm. Like, those two guys are going to be fully involved with this. So what are you fully doing as a GM here? So, and that's where part of this is, why do this if you're the Oilers? Have this type of day where it's now anger towards your organization for a job that actually isn't as significant as it should really is. Like, it's a caretaker again.
Yeah.
Why bring this headache upon yourself and lose as much goodwill as you've built up over the last number of weeks for Stan Bowman? That's the part that it's just very confusing to me.
It's very confusing.
It's going to be fascinating to see what he says. I'm sure we'll just get all the generic answers of, he's barely an hockey mind. He's won 3 Stanley Cups. And
well, I'll also be intrigued just how much hockey questions are asked.
Well, I'm saying what Jeff Jackson's going to say and justify.
But I don't think he's going to be asked that many hockey questions.
Yeah.
I think you're going to have a lot of questions that don't focus on hockey today. And that's always an interesting thing when you're hiring someone and the main questions aren't going to be focused on hockey.
And it's, I'm very fascinated the fact that, last year the talk was Jeff Jackson. There was the familiarity with Connor McDavid, obviously. And, they're close. And they're still close. And so what went into that now? Connor McDavid's relation with Jeff Jackson. I'm fascinated by that angle as well. There's just so many things to look at.
How does Jackson sell this to McDavid?
Yeah,
because I know
you don't have.
We all know he's consulted him.
I don't know if he did. I don't know if you'd have to on this one. It's the general manager.
Or maybe you just don't on purpose to protect him, right?
Well, no, ultimately, when you're Jeff Jackson, you don't have to, because we're just saying this is a caretaker. The direction of this franchise is being set by Jeff Jackson. So why does Connor or Leon have to care who the general manager is fully? Jeff Jackson's leading the charge still here, so it's okay. Like, if they go hire another assistant GM, do you need to go to Connor? I don't think you fully do. Because also, if you're Connor, why do you care? Connor's thing is, put a winning team on this ice with me so I can go win a Stanley Cup, and we can go win a Stanley Cup.
Stan Bowman doesn't wear skates.
But that's the focus of the players here. They generally aren't involved, or it doesn't matter almost who's up high. It's going to suck. Connor's probably going, I got to answer questions about this now, when whoever his agent is now is probably going to be like, well, I'm going to have to prepare you some comments of what you're going to say. But once he gets through that, he's fine. It's just now about hockey. The players, because the players don't make this decision. And the players, it's not on the players. And in hockey, the players aren't the people that are going to fully be outspoken on this. They've welcomed other people in their locker room. Dean Miller texted me and he said that they'll have to answer this 31 more times every road trip. I truly don't believe they have to. I don't think another media is going to do that. I don't think hockey media is going to do that. I think you ask these questions up front, and then why, when you go to Boston in whatever month they're in Boston, does the Boston media care about Stan Bowman? And that Stan Bowman is the GM and what the other players think of that. There's going to be the one chance of getting this to the players, opening press conference or training camp day one, and that's it. We move on.
Yeah. I don't know. I got for some reason, man, this one just feels different. It really does. Like I kind of side with Dean there. Like, especially if we were talking about if the Oilers fans do get to the fire Bowman, the players are going to have to answer that. For sure, those questions will be asked if that's what's going on.
If it happens,
it's
not going to.
I don't know, man. I honestly, I don't know. Maybe I'm just in the minority here, but it's definitely as a fan, this is very triggering. I hate it, and I know people are saying I'm complaining. Sorry, I'm complaining.
I think you're complaining. Well, no, that's the small. I think most people are saying what you're saying. I think you're massively in the majority right now, Trev.
Yeah. Oh.
There's also now I've seen in the past that there was letter of recommendations written.
Yes.
For Brad Aldrich. A lot of people saying Stan Bowman never did, which then I would be factually incorrect on a tweet I have out there.
Aldrich was hired in 2008, and the assault happened in 2010. When was Bowman hired as the GM of Chicago?
No, the recommendation for the Miami University job and the high school job. I don't. But
we committed 2 sexual assaults in Michigan.
Right, but did he get a letter of recommendation to get employed there?
Yes.
Based on a lot of reports or things, that didn't actually happen.
Oh, okay.
Maybe Joel Quenneville did, but it's because I remember seeing in the past.
Yeah, I remember
reading the reports that said that. But there's a lot of people I'm getting on Twitter right now saying it didn't happen.
Oh, okay.
And I'm trying to find something, and I'm not seeing it at this moment. So
I thought for sure that was true as well, because when I read that, I was like, yeah, that's another question that definitely should be asked. I would have loved if that was asked, but if that's not true, obviously.
I'll have to delete that tweet at some point then.
It's crazy. I did not expect this. I really didn't today.
I didn't expect it fully today. I knew that it seemed like they were hiring Stan Bowman, though. That was pretty clear over the last week or so, because of the amount of media people starting to comment on Stan Bowman and a lot of referencing to the Respect Group letter from Sheldon Kennedy. There's a reason the media start doing that.
Yeah,
they're seeing something, and the defense of Stan Bowman really picked up over the last week from various members of this media. And I'm not talking Edmonton media, I'm talking the hockey media, that it was clear, okay, well, why is this happening with Stan Bowman right now? What opening is there? It's only Edmonton. That's where he's coming. That's where it is today. And press conference coming up about 10:30. We will carry it live for you on Edmonton Sports Talk. When it happens here during this hangout, Jeff Jackson, Stan Bowman will speak to the media that can assemble at Rogers Place. Again, for those that are just tuning in to the EST Hangout, which is presented by Two Hoots Hard Iced Tea, the Edmonton Oilers have named Stan Bowman General Manager and Executive Vice President of Hockey Operations. Part of the statement Jeff Jackson made in the announcement is, quote, I believe his vast experience and proven success in this role, together with the important work he has done in his time away from the game, fits our goal of being best in class when it comes to all facets of our organization. The weird part about that quote...
How about character and integrity?
Well, the weird part about that is he's making it sound like the work he's done was on his own. He chose to do work on his own, and it had nothing to do with this incident. Just, he wasn't with the Blackhawks anymore, and he's a good guy. And that fits the class organization of the Edmonton Oilers.
Yeah. It's not a good look. I don't
Very
like it.
poor look. Very poor look. You could always get in touch with us. Nasty Chat, Paris Jewelers Inbox, 780-218-9999. I'm just sorry. I'm just reading a couple of these things. Well, people want to say, there's just some people that just will defend their team again at all costs. Doesn't matter. People, a lot of people read the reports. A lot of people know what happened. But if you don't care about those things, that's cool. That's cool. But other people do care about sexual assault and sexual abuse, and they don't believe people that. I don't want to say. Is it covered it up? I don't think it's covered it up, but didn't do what was right in addressing it.
He asked the mental coach that the complaint was made to the skills coach, who then went and talked to the player's mental coach, like their team psychologist likely or something like that. That team psychologist brought it to, McIsaac, who then informed the GM. I think Stan Bowman found out, like I said, game 3 or after game 4 of the second round. So right before they played San Jose in round 3. And said, I don't want to have to deal with this right now. I'm focused on winning a Stanley Cup. Mental coach, can you please deal with this?
And just didn't do anything.
And then didn't do anything until after the Stanley Cup.
And your point of gave him the day with the cup.
And his bonus.
Those type of things, you could have just fired him on the spot.
Yeah.
And moved on from that. It's a poor look, but there's an article from Sheldon Kennedy, not Keefe, to Brian in the Nasty Chat, more or less forgiving Bowman and giving him a glowing review. And I talked about that earlier. I'll just bring that up again here quickly. I'm glad Sheldon Kennedy gave him the recommendation and the approval. That doesn't mean people Sheldon Kennedy's not the end all be all when it comes to sexual assault and how people feel about it. He's done some amazing work. I'm not going to in any way, shape, or form undermine what Sheldon Kennedy's done. His voice matters a great deal. But a lot of other people could sit there and go, that's great. He doesn't deserve to have a job in the National Hockey League, though. In the end, there are 32 NHL jobs. This is a privilege, not a right, to be a GM in the NHL. Stan Bowman, he did a lot of great work. That, to me, says he deserves a second chance. But a second chance can be done in so many other ways. And even if it has to be hockey, if we're talking hockey, why can't Stan Bowman be a scout? Why can't Stan Bowman be,
assistant
a director of pro scouting for a bit or something? Why can't he take a smaller role in hockey and earn his way back up to one of the 32 most important jobs in the National Hockey League of being a general manager of a team?
The best GM job, and when they win a cup in the next few years, guaranteed is spot in the Hall of Fame.
You don't have to put your, arm immediately around Sheldon Kennedy the moment this is, all is happening. Go, we're going to give him a GM job. That's the issue. Sheldon Kennedy's voice matters, but it's not going to completely take away what everyone thinks about what their thoughts on Stan Bowman and Joel Quenneville and what they should do. And no, Dario, I'm not undermining Sheldon Kennedy. I'm just saying, there are people could have their own opinions of this.
Yeah.
One guy's opinion does not necessarily have to change everyone else's opinion.
Let's ask Kyle Beach's opinion.
And I go back to, I will state, Sheldon Kennedy, I won't say go with Sheldon, but why can't it be a job of a different job in hockey? Why can't it be a job anywhere else? Sheldon Kennedy's saying Stan Bowman deserves a second chance. But why does it have to be a general manager job in the National Hockey League? Why? That's the question. It doesn't. That's the thing. But, we're okay for some of you out there. I'm just going to throw this out there for the ones, some of you defending, not all of you defending this. But in the end, you just care more about winning than anything else. And that's the sad truth of this. You don't care about what happened to Kyle Beach. You don't care about what happened at the high school or the university. You just care about the Oilers winning a Stanley Cup.
Or the intern during the celebration.
You just care about winning a Stanley Cup. And you will defend it at all costs. And you think, if the Oilers think that this is going to help them win a cup, I'm all for it. You don't care about anything else at that point.
There's a key point in this. There was 2 students in Michigan. He still gets recommended for a job in Chicago. There wasn't just Kyle Beach. There was 2 black aces. Mm-hmm. And after they swept that under the rug so that they could go on and win their cup, a 22-year-old intern was forced into sexual harassment with him during the celebration. So if all that doesn't get swept into the rug, that 22-year-old doesn't have their life ruined.
Also, just to look at this, the Oilers tweet from 2 hours ago. Ratioed hard.
Oh,
That just tells you.
just
tells you where this is and where people are with this. 828 likes. This has almost had 890,000 views, and it doesn't even have 900 likes.
Approaching 1 million views and less than 1,000 likes.
And it's got 1.6 thousand comments, and it also has got
How many quote tweets?
1,200 quotes.
Yeah.
There you go.
And that's the thing, like even on
It's
Facebook.
being ratioed hard.
Yeah, the it's not liked. It's not being liked at all. The mad face is the thing that you see first. Then it's the laughing face. And like, yeah, this is more than just for sure. This is more than just hockey right now. But like, even like, say he comes in here and makes some great moves. There will be some people that will be like, oh, he's building a winning team. But like the majority of people, or they're not going to look past. Like they're not going to give him any credit.
After what Jeff Jackson's done, why would you give him credit?
Yeah.
Like Bowman could go and trade for Sidney Crosby right now, and I think they'd still think it was Jeff Jackson's doing after what he just pulled off. Like it just makes zero sense to me. It makes negative sense to me.
Yeah. And you talk about Kyle Beach, and like that's another risk, another question that could be asked to one of these players, and for sure they don't want to have to talk about that. And that's probably they might have to. Like it blows my mind. It really does.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as I've got to answer that question more than 2 or 3 times, I'm going to start resenting my manager.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm bitter, but...
And I don't know, there was, I forget what, Gretzky came out and said something. This was like 2 weeks ago, but LT, he read his quote on the first hour of today's show. And he wasn't really for it. He said, you want someone that looks out for your players. Bowman certainly doesn't do that. So it's like,
Yeah.
kind of the main guy is not for it. You look at it's just, obviously, it's changed now, hopefully. But it's still, like, it's just...
Is Bowman better at the cap than Billy? Is he better at relationships than Jeff Jackson? Is he better at... Why?
Yeah.
Why? Can he get us Taves back? Like, if that's even useful anymore, I don't know. I'm not sure there's anything he can do that'll
Justify this. No,
ever
certainly not.
gain my approval. I don't know.
No, to me it won't. I don't believe these guys should have ever have a shot in hockey again. Personally, again, you want a second chance, go do it somewhere else.
Yeah.
That's where you go. Like you don't have to have it in hockey. Straight up.
I mean,
I don't care about his experience as a GM. I don't care about him being a Stanley Cup winning GM with the team in Chicago. To me, there's things that matter more than hockey and more than sport in general.
For sure.
One, protecting your players and protecting your staff just in general is one of those. Once again, I will say I do believe in second chances if you've shown that you deserve a second chance. Stan Bowman, according to Sheldon Kennedy, shows that he deserves a second chance. That's where I will take Sheldon Kennedy's word for it.
Sure.
Stan Bowman deserves a second chance.
Get your second chance.
But you don't. The second chances does not mean it has to be in hockey. It doesn't have to be in the National Hockey League. You could go work somewhere else. You could go work a lot of other places in society. Go do that. It doesn't have to be as the general manager of the Edmonton Oilers.
Even Mike Tyson didn't get a heavyweight title shot his first fight out of jail. I think he had 3 or something, but like you don't just get given the best opportunity out there in your sport.
Nor should you always. But if you just care about hockey and winning, good for you. That's fine. That's for you. For me, I do things differently.
Pour me a stiff one of those two there, YouTube. No, but I need one. Do I want one? That's another story. We all play in the Heavy Hockey Showdown. Mm-hmm. Right? All 3 of us have played in that game. The rest of my team at Heavy Hockey, the rest of your guys' team at EST. We do that because we want to make a difference in the culture of hockey. We support SACE and the Sexual Assault Center of Edmonton because we see the black eye that hockey has, that culture, that history of continually hiding these types of abuses. we can't change the world in a day, but we can change our little, do our little part to change our city or change our slice of life. And
Well, if there's a sport that doesn't get the benefit of doubt on any of this, it's hockey.
for sure,
We've learned that over the last number of years.
for sure. So I can't play in the heavy hockey showdown and be in heavy hockey and stand so strongly against sexual abuse and then just stand by and be like, yeah, but I'm cool with this because we're going to win a cup.
Tim says, dudes, one guy can't protect the whole organization. But you can make a difference to a degree, and also the buck stops somewhere.
Only takes one guy to call the cops.
Well, it's one to say, hey, the Stanley Cup playoffs, we're in a run here. We need to deal with this still, though, because while we're still trying to win a cup, we could do both. You could do that. Also, the buck those stops somewhere. There's someone at a top leadership that needs to take responsibility at some point.
Let me take a couple hours out of my day before we play San Jose and make a few calls. And
when you're a general manager or the president of hockey, you're right near the top. It lays at your feet, and things that happen below you, it's your responsibility.
It's extreme ownership.
It's on you. If you want to take this a hockey road, if the scouting staff is poor, that's on you for hiring poor scouting staff. It falls at you. When things get reported to you, you've got to deal with them. Or if things are happening you don't know about, there's a situation where that's on you, that you don't have enough of an ear out in what's going on with your organization. Mm-hmm. The buck eventually has to stop somewhere when it comes to these organizations. And when you're at the top, it's there. If there's anything, like if it was thrown up the ladder, you could say to a degree, I did my job. Did Stan Bowman even go to ownership with this? Like that, I'll have to go back and fully read the report. But that would be
Jackson go to ownership, you mean?
No, Stan Bowman go to ownership with what he knew, and then it's on the Wirtz family at that point. Now you've gone even higher.
No, I think it's reported that the Wirtz didn't know.
There's just some point you have to do something with the information when it's given.
Yeah.
Not going, it's the cup though, guys.
Can you go deal with this for
We're going to hold off on a little bit on this.
Just go deal with this.
We got to win this cup, and then it's all done. Okay, he's going to leave the organization, but here's your money. Here's your day with the Stanley Cup. We're not going to treat you like you should be treated, which is garbage.
Oh, geez, now you sexually abuse somebody else in the celebration. Well, hey, I tell you what, I'll give you the option to resign.
And it takes one person that could do good. One person could be the change that is necessary to do the right things. So that's where
doing so, he's a sheep.
Yeah.
I mean, in any business, you're responsible for the actions of the people underneath you, and right, like
choosing to ultimately go for the Stanley Cup instead of protecting employees. Mm-hmm. That's what you want to be known for. Mm-hmm. And once again, credit to Stan Bowman for the work he's done to try to improve himself. I don't think Sheldon Kennedy would ever just post a recommendation just for the NHL's sake. I don't think he's doing the NHL a solid. Sheldon Kennedy's not that guy. I do believe that Stan Bowman put in work.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
But you don't have to be in the National Hockey League.
No.
I mean, all this was settled out of court. We don't necessarily know what he was assigned with or what he may have been told to do in community service, or did no community service come out of it? Like, I don't think that's out there. We don't know whether it was voluntarily, do we? Right?
What he did?
Yes.
Just that the respect group article or letter that Sheldon Kennedy's all that's come out.
Like, if anybody in their right mind wants to work in the NHL again and get another $5 million a year contract, you're going to do everything you can to repair your reputation. And I think if he cared about his reputation in the first place, he would have done something about it in the first place.
It always disheartens me a little bit how much people just go out and defend these type of things.
I'm very.
That's the one that always these days.
I'm very surprised by that. Like when I was I got called woke this morning on the morning show, like for saying that this is ridiculous, and I'm flabbergasted by that. Each to their own. Everyone has their own opinions, obviously, but like. This is huge. Like, I don't know. I feel like this is like I'm going to be talking about this. I'm going to bring it up to my kids one day. Like this is massive. Yeah. That's all I got.
Oh, it's Pram, you guys going to have a cry session on air? What if we did, Pram?
I might cry.
Or not, but like Sorry that. Oh, you guys are Wokey ads. Awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. Like, again, this is what we are saying here is where the majority of the fan base actually is.
What if it
right?
happened to your kid? What happened to your son? What happened to your daughter?
Yeah, that's the thing. But
Then how would you feel about Stan Bowman?
But we've seen this in sports across it all. It doesn't matter for certain things. It just matters about the sport. They want to separate everything else, and you could get away with it. Like Ray Rice almost played more football again. Ray Rice was only going to be suspended 2 games until a video came out because the NFL didn't care. And look, that's just fans at that point. I don't care if you play. Greg Hardy was actually convicted of beating his then girlfriend, and while he was appealing, he was playing NFL football games. This stuff happens, and people then just want to throw that aside and say, I don't care. Go win me football games. And in this case, it's Stan Bowman. Go build me a hockey team that wins Stanley Cups. I don't care.
We already have a hockey team.
And that's the part of all this is that there's this added distraction. And to those that are go cry, woke, all that stuff, again, I'll just go look at the Oilers Twitter account and go look at all the anger that is coming from Oiler fans when it comes to all this. They are getting ratioed hard.
For sure.
I mean, I cry almost every day anyways. I probably will cry about this at some point, to be honest. Like, I don't know. I don't think anybody that's going to sit here and say that they condone this whatsoever is experienced sexual abuse or has thought about it from the perspective of what if this happened to your kid. I think that's all you have to do is take your mind to those 2 places. And if you're a parent, full stop.
2 comments in the message. Pram back. What if, dude, stick to sports? This is sports. That's the part of this that you can't clearly figure out is that this is now sports is intertwining with what happened in real life because it happened in sports. This happened with everything that's happened with Stan Bowman happened while he's with the Chicago Blackhawks. Last time I checked, they played in the National Hockey League, which is a hockey league, which is a sport. So we are sticking to sports. That's part of all of this. This is where sports actually has, I've always felt, a role societally that they could send a message about what's right and wrong more than almost anything else. But people like you and certain other individuals, they don't want that societal responsibility. Yeah. Just sweep everything under the rug. Don't care what you do. Go do whatever you want away from the game. But you can still play hockey and play football and play basketball or manage these teams because that's what matters more to me. That's what I get from someone like Param.
I mean, it happened in 2010 and it didn't come out until 2011. It's not like he just didn't tell anybody after the Cup. He buried it for 10 years.
And then I'm not even going to try to read this guy's Twitter handle. Mex Bezozu. Sorry. Where are we as a society when being against sexual assault is seen as a negative trait? Yep.
No kidding.
Yep. That's part of that. Like it's speaking out against the anger of someone who's, didn't report it, didn't do enough to protect people that were assaulted. That from some of you, you're viewing that as a negative trait on us. And everyone out there that is saying that. So that's an interesting stance to take. Very interesting stance to take.
I just have a really hard, I don't know. It's like I said at the beginning, this is just one more reason that makes it harder to cheer for this team. Like I'm a diehard bleed blue and orange guy. Like it's like Trevor, like this is hard, man. I just don't understand it.
KGL97, what you are saying is valid completely, Matt, but what we can do about this now? Should we change who we cheer for? LOL. Well, one, you could stop cheering for the team. There is that option. Fans have that option. You could stop cheering for your teams. Am I saying do that? No, I'm not going to say do that. There's a ways to have your voice heard. You could stop buying merch. Yeah. You could stop paying for tickets. Stop going to the games. You can still watch the team, but you don't spend money. That's where the team suffers the most. Or, as I mentioned earlier, go to the games and chant fire Stan Bowman.
Yeah.
Do it game in and game out. Start those chants game in and game out. Force the Oilers' hand on this. Fans in North America don't understand the power you have over your organization. Fans in Europe, when it comes to soccer, they understand that. And if there are plenty of examples of fan bases in Europe causing change with their organizations by doing things in game. You can do that here in Edmonton. You could absolutely go ahead and do that. But also just throwing your hands up the air going, there's nothing we could do. Oh, well, let's just not talk about this. Like that, is that what we're going with here? And I'm not okay with that. But there are things but there's also things you can do as fans to try to enact change. And just saying we can't do anything, well, actually you can. Where you don't have to give up your support of this team. Money's the big thing. Stop spending money. That would be the biggest thing. If no other fan wanted to go buy a jersey this year, then the Oilers are going to notice that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to see. And, going forward in T-minus 24 minutes here, that's one thing. Like, I obviously have my opinions now. I'm curious to see what he has to say. I don't think it'll change much. But I don't know. At the end of every conversation, it just comes to, it's just not a good look. I'm curious. The team has to be talking about it.
The players?
The players.
I'm sure they're going, at the very least, going, we got to answer for this.
Yeah.
Or we're going to have to speak on this. And but I would assume, I guess that's a question for former players. How much does this impact a locker room? The GM, I'm not saying in this situation necessarily, but GM changes, how much does that actually impact the locker room? We've seen GM changes before, and I don't think it fully, because there is a separation between players and that position.
Oh, yeah.
So what are you going to do? Although at the same time, they could fire him.
They could.
Connor could come out and say he doesn't want him as the GM of the team, and it would all change.
Oh,
now, but Connor's not that person. Connor's not that.
He's not gonna.
The hockey players aren't those people.
That's the whole problem in the first place.
I'm not saying he should go do that. I'm not going to put this on Connor or the players in any way, shape, or form. It's wild that the power players have in hockey and they don't ever use it if they wanted to. Also, at the same time, if they were to use it, they'd get ripped for using it, which is fascinating. Completely fascinating. Money Talks.
How many
TV podcast, which is I think Majot. You know what would make OEG nervous? A handful of major sponsors pulling
I was
out.
just gonna say that.
That's a big one too.
Yep.
100%.
Yep.
If a couple of the big sponsors said, "You hired who?" We're gonna take a step back. We're gonna hold sponsorship, like Hockey Canada. Happened to Hockey Canada.
Yeah.
Now, Hockey Canada had bigger issues than what the Oilers are doing here. The Oilers did not cover anything up. Hockey Canada's covered up a bunch of stuff.
And we employ the guy that was in charge of that cover up too.
There was one of the biggest things that happened why Hockey Canada had major changes was sponsors said, we're good. We're pulling out of the World Juniors. We're not doing this. We're suspending our sponsorship at the moment. That would be another way for this to completely change things. We'll see if that happens. I'm not going to hold my breath.
Got my AC installed yesterday.
Oh, did you?
Not sleeping in the car anymore.
Did you actually get it installed, by the way?
Yeah.
Sorry, we have to sidetrack here. Did it?
I wanted to
it
drop
work?
that. Oh, it works.
Yeah.
Had a great sleep. As soon as I finished it, 5-hour sleep I had. I was just sweating like crazy. Got it installed. I just chilled in front of it for about 10 minutes, and then I slept for 5 hours. It took me 5 hours to install it. I'm not proud of that, but it did.
That takes a while because you had to build the cutout for it.
I had to cut it myself.
Yeah, and I'm assuming you don't have like a table saw or a skill saw
I had
necessary.
to buy a saw.
Yeah,
I got a whole garage full of tools, kid. Come on. You know I got your back.
Yeah, another
I'm
news.
very disappointed in the amount of people that saw your tweet and thought that was real.
I was disappointed too. People were ripping me about that. They're like, amateur hour, this is embarrassing. So
there was a lot of people that's like, it's like, did you look at this picture, people?
Yeah.
Clearly it is not Trev's room. Clearly this is like, he does not have this cement wall that looks like a school or a hospital in his room. And then just there was a lot that I just like, the amount of people that just immediately bought into that one. I was like, well, clearly Trev is making a joke here with the picture.
Yeah.
Our boy Dusty and Jay were two of them that
fell for it.
fell for it.
I think Rip City fell for it. Silly. But yeah, I had to throw that out there. Anyway.
Good for you. Glad you're
Thanks,
comfortable
guys.
again.
Thanks, guys.
I felt
Yeah, it's
bad
nice.
when you said you were sleeping in the
No
car.
more sleeping in the car. No more sleeping here. And all thanks to Glue Guy. Shout out Glue Guy.
Yeah,
very
now
nice.
the temperature drops.
Yeah, I know. It was like
So he got it in
like,
just in time.
perfect
Just in
timing.
time.
He'll be ready for next year.
Perfect timing. Has Glue Guy calmed down from that last green and gold post game?
I think so. We'll see what happens this week.
It's had a few
If
days.
BD
He's
makes a
pretty
kick,
fired
this
up.
is a kick. I think.
Or 3.
Well, just one. It just has to be one. He just has to miss one. As long as if it's over 50 yards, I think people could handle it if he misses. If it's over 50.
Can they?
Well, you're right. Maybe people wouldn't be able to handle that one.
Back to talking about whether the Riverhawks are going to outdraw the Esks. I keep doing that. The Elks. Sorry.
Riverhawks are closing in on 100,000. Except they lost their game yesterday because of air quality. But doubleheader tonight. starting at
Doubleheader
7
tonight.
o'clock.
Yeah.
So that'd be a fun time down as long as the air quality improves. I don't know what the air quality is right now.
Closing in on 100,000, and I think last count we had just over 46,000 so far year to date
For
with the Elks. It's like 20,000 the first game, 15,000 the second game,
Elks will
10,000
pass. The Elks will pass. Air quality 6, so it should stay. As long as we're supposed to, I don't know if it's still raining outside. I can't see right now.
Yeah.
So that Riverhawks game should be good to go a little bit later. Reminder coming up in about 20 minutes time. We will have the press conference of Jeff Jackson and Stan Bowman, the introductory press conference of Stan Bowman as the general manager and executive vice president of the Edmonton Oilers at 11 o'clock. There will be no lock shop today. We'll do an extended oil stream today from 11 until 1. Dusty Gazzola is down at the press conference. He will then come back to the station and we'll recap and more thoughts of your reaction to the news of the Edmonton Oilers hiring Stan Bowman. Nasty chat, Paris Jewelers inbox 780-218-9999. Do want to quickly get to our Road Warriors segment, which is brought to you by AccuSteel Heavy Haul Trailers, custom manufacturing heavy haul trailers. For mining, oil and gas equipment, and highway transportation, quality, innovation, integrity, trusted by the leaders in the heavy transport industry. Get on the road with peace of mind for your large loads. AccuSteel.ca. Our Canadian women's national soccer team, they are out in France getting ready to take on New Zealand tomorrow at 9 o'clock in their first World Cup game or Olympic game. Big news, though, is FIFA is investigating Canada at this moment because
Catch the game via drone.
they had a drone over New Zealand's practice and they were caught. And so now a couple of members of the team have been sent home.
Oh, wow.
The New Zealand Olympic Committee sent in a statement today that the team support members, they alerted police after a drone was flying over their practice. FIFA is now investigating Bev Priestman, who's the manager, and a couple of other parts of Canada Soccer, as it looks like. I don't know what we were doing. I don't know what our national women's team was doing here.
They
We
weren't
were
cheating.
trying to. Well, we were going Bill Belichick Patriots way type thing here, and
Drone gate.
and trying to do it with a drone. And
They're just fans. They wanted to see. That's all it was.
But what was the air pressure in the soccer balls?
It's. I wasn't expecting to see that type of news come up, but there's 3 individuals of the Canadian women's soccer team: Bev Priestman, Joseph Lombardi, Jasmine Mander. They all could face disciplinary as they've breached FIFA protocols. This will be decided in the next few days. Mander was the assistant coach. Lombardi, an analyst. They were sent home. There was 2 separate drone incidences,
Wow.
with reports indicating that the drones flew over practice both Monday and last Friday. We did it twice.
No
We
way.
did it twice. Look at us go, being full cheaters.
Yep.
Being so anti-Canadian. So we'll see how that happens.
Yeah,
Because
but they probably apologized.
Like, sorry.
Yeah, I don't think an apology is going to go well on this one.
What do you have to say?
Canada, New Zealand tomorrow, 9 a.m. We've got the Nielsen Show draft of movie props. Or no, not the Nielsen Show draft. The Edmonton Sports Talk draft. I'm used to the old plays being during the Nielsen Show. The Edmonton Sports Talk draft of movie props.
Movie props.
So that will be taking place at the exact same time. So I know what I'll be watching.
Yeah.
The
Not that.
soccer.
Yeah.
I'll be watching the soccer personally. Yeah. I'll do my pre-game or pre-draft prep. I'll do my post, but during it, I will gladly pay attention to what matters more to me.
Yeah.
The Canadian women's national soccer team, because these EST drafts,
Yeah.
I'm done. That's in my past.
That's all
Nielsen
it is.
show drafts.
You've moved on.
You're still talking like you're the original draft commissioner.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Well, I am. I still am. The resume still has it on there if I wanted to put it on there. Now, is it on my resume? Of course not, because I don't need that part of my...
First time
I don't need
caller,
people to know.
long-time listener, fan of the original draft commissioner.
Oh, Mr. Clausen.
Mr.
Yeah.
Clausen.
Mr. Clausen.
What a beauty.
I wonder, like, did a drone fall? Is that will that be released? Like, how did they find out it was a Canadian drone? I wonder
How
because
they found out as a Canadian drone. Well, based on that, just reading the thing, New Zealand alerted someone to a drone. The police. So then the police probably tried figuring out who
I'm
owned
pretty
that
sure
drone.
you can overwrite the drone.
I would please have that
accidentally put a
technology.
big red maple
You
leaf
can.
on it.
Yeah, that's what
So
I
I'm
was
gonna guess the police
like.
got in,
The black
got
box
it,
of the drone.
brought it in or whatever, and they learned
Like,
that it was.
whose is this? Because you also have to ask for permission to fly your drone before you take off.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess there's a few reasons or a few ways they could
And
have found out.
I will say that the Olympics, it's high security.
Yeah, they know.
The entire Olympics, that's often where the overruns for costs come, is the security of it, because the world comes.
I'm sure they're worried
There's a
about
lot.
drones for, like,
But just like everything is going to be so secure in Paris.
Yeah.
That almost like, what are you thinking, Canada? Did you think you weren't going to get caught with a drone at the Olympics?
Yeah.
Right.
Like, of all play, this isn't just some friendly taking place and you were in Canada or New
Right.
Zealand and you're flying it around, or the She Believes Cup or something. This is the damn
Yeah.
Olympics with
Yeah.
massive security.
Yeah.
Like,
I feel like putting some graffiti on a wall. Yeah, I'm going to do the White House. Nobody will find me.
Spency 5 cents, the drone was dropping bottles of maple syrup.
I love you, Spency.
Oh, that's so good.
Just
funny.
going back to the
Maybe he
story
thought
of the
they just
day.
served pancakes. Just trying to be
It was
polite.
just dripping a little bit. Ghost 13. Just because you didn't break the law doesn't mean you didn't do anything wrong.
Bingo.
Your understanding of morality dictated by law only to somebody else. It's simple. And then that's the point of all this. And that's where society in general, but to me, sports has the letter of the law. I want the law proven beyond a reasonable doubt that you were guilty, that you, to be convicted. Society doesn't have to live by that. They could be a little less lenient than the court system. Just look at OJ. We all said that OJ was guilty for how many years? The court system says he wasn't.
We still
Straight
do.
up. The court system says he was acquitted. He didn't do it. Well, the criminal court system, civil court system, he got found guilty, I guess.
Doesn't
then in
change
the
the
end.
fact that actions have
it's-
consequences, and
that's
the lack
thing.
of
And so-
actions have consequences.
And they didn't do anything. They didn't do anything wrong legally. Absolutely. They didn't get charged with anything. There was nothing to be charged with, really. But it doesn't mean you can't still be just a good human, decent human, and do the right thing.
And by not
there's
doing
a difference.
it,
And
a
there's the difference
22-year-old
there.
intern has now been affected in this celebration of the Stanley Cup as well, right? Like, I mean, there's lack of actions have consequences. Is that like if I'm Stan Bowman and McIsaac and Quenville and anybody else involved in that, and I put my head on my pillow at the end of the night, I got to live with that. I got to live with the fact that because I didn't say something, somebody else, potentially because I didn't say something, somebody else got abused. But if they fired him right then and there, that doesn't happen.
Yeah, you could if you go to police, you fire him, and makes a story about this is why it's happening. He's not getting hired by the next job. Straight up.
Bowman isn't.
No,
Yeah.
Aldrich is.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
If you go out there and do all
But then
this,
in saying that, do you think
and
Bowman,
they didn't do that.
if he goes and blows the whistle, does he get blackballed?
No.
Do you think he's...
I don't see how you could. Who's going to blackball him?
Yeah, I mean, we just hired him for
Well, but that's
hiding
like
it, so...
I don't think the Blackhawks would be heralds, or he would be as doing the right thing. And
we want to hire a GM that's going to blow the whistle every time something goes wrong? I don't know. I'm
but
just
that's
saying
where
the
it's
other
like
side of
that's
it, right?
where
Like,
I don't see imagine if you won the cup and you protected Kyle Beach. How much more Stan Bowman would have been elevated as an individual, and the organization would have been elevated.
For sure.
It's, but I don't think if you say something, you would get. I don't think the Blackhawks are going to fire him for that. Partly because you can't.
no.
Like
Yeah,
it
of
would
course,
have to be
yeah.
years later that you would have to do
Yeah,
it, but
of
I don't
course.
think you would care at that point. And two, I don't think it would stop him from getting another job. I don't.
Yeah. If this
Because
didn't
he
stop
would
him
be
from
because
getting
there would
another
be
job,
there'd
then
be the
that
fan
wouldn't.
base. There would be a portion of a fan base somewhere that would be like, "Hey, this is a good GM, and good dude, got to bring him in."
Yeah.
He would have
High
the extra
integrity,
defenders
yeah.
because that would be exact high integrity. That's something that the fans of some organization would be able to say. Today, you can't say that. So,
Yeah.
Very, very odd day. Very odd off season.
It's going to be very interesting going forward the next season.
a completely wild offseason.
Yeah.
Completely wild first year for EST.
Oh, it's insane.
It's
we're still gonna have an Elks new ownership probably at some point before year one ends.
What if there's
sometime
been
in August?
Okay,
we'll have that.
So
like,
when the
it's
Oilers
been
were
all over the place,
when the Oilers were 2-9-1, nobody would have sat here and thought, "Oh, EST is going to be reporting on the Oilers in the Stanley Cup final in a few short months." What if? What if you guys get the luck of now the Eskimos go
Elks.
So why do I keep doing that? Sorry. The Elks now go, maybe they could only lose one game for the rest of the year, and they have the Knobloch effect, and you know what I mean?
No, that's not going to happen.
Just for EST.
That's
like,
not
can you
happen.
imagine?
That's not going to happen.
No, it's not.
That's not going to happen.
They're pretty bad football. They're pretty bad football club.
I watched the 6 games this season.
I think they're going
It's-
4-14 again, to be honest.
Well, they need a win against Hamilton this weekend if they want to get 4. If they don't beat Hamilton this weekend, it's hard to see 4 wins on the rest of the schedule.
I think they can get 3 out of 4 versus Hamilton and Winnipeg, and then maybe they split the Calgary game.
Did they get Calgary twice or 3 times?
Twice.
I thought they get them 3 times, or is it just the 2?
I think it's just twice, if I remember.
But still, like you're eventually going to snag another win somewhere else. But we thought, Jay bet on over 6.5, 7. Hard seeing 7 right now.
Yeah.
But Winnipeg's not that great either.
Will they turn it around though?
Winnipeg, no.
No?
Winnipeg's more like the Elks than they are the Riders. I think that's pretty clear.
What a fall from grace there, hey?
Getting old.
Yeah. So is that what it is? Because I'm just starting to watch the CFL.
It's injuries. One of the things. The other thing is they're older.
Yeah.
Eventually, and it's the same as the LA Kings or the Chicago Blackhawks. You keep the same group around. At some point, they're not able to do it.
Okay.
But you've done everything to keep it around because you want to keep it around, and then it's just done.
Yeah.
And I think that's the point of when, like Zach Collaros. Well, part of it is they lost 2 members of their O-line. Losing 40% of your O-line is a big deal. And Collaros is not a quarterback that's going to do well having to move or something.
Yeah.
So when he's not getting protected, he's going to get hit a little bit more, and now he's also a little bit older. That's what we're seeing, I think, in Winnipeg. I need to watch him just a little bit more to get a full gauge on them, but watching what they did against Saskatchewan didn't do really, and I don't think Dalton Schoen and Kenny Lawler make that much of an added impact to the team.
That's why we play the games.
That's why we play the games.
I doubt it.
We are about 5 minutes or so away from the press conference down at the Oilers Hall of Fame.
Want me to go get Eric?
I'm texting him right now.
There you go.
Eric will come in and I will set things up to get things done. Matt Iwanyk, Dash, as well as YouTube Trev here on the EST Hangout presented by Two Hoots Hard Iced on your clear choice for Edmonton Sports. Edmonton Sports Talk, a 24/7 all sports radio station in the city. Shocking. Oilers hiring Stan Bowman today as both general manager, executive vice president. Is that the official title? Executive vice president. I clicked the wrong button there. And there's a press conference coming up. Yes, Executive Vice President of Hockey Operations. Eric just standing there. Yeah, come on in. Take this spot for a couple minutes.
It's a cool shirt.
I'll get things set up so we're ready to go for that press conference.
Thanks, Maddie, for having me on.
Thanks, Maddie.
It's a
Ready to read any
true pro.
segments or sponsors or anything? Welcome to the Talk CFL. What are we talking here? You guys hear about that soccer thing too at the Olympics? Hey, cheating at the Olympics.
Isn't that awesome?
Who'd have thunk?
Shocking.
Right?
Kind of-
shocking stuff.
It's
We
kind
were
of
just
funny.
trying to be polite. We thought they were having pancakes, and we were trying to drop maple syrup from a drone.
Well, look, everybody flies drones these days. I don't get what the big
Yeah.
deal is. They're all around. You look, you walk outside right now, look up in the sky, you'll probably see 2 or 3 doing whatever they do. I don't know. You've piloted one, right? You can kind of get.
And we have Olympic level security here right now. Nope.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't know that the guys downstairs would think about a drone outside of this building here while they're doing that construction out there too. Hey, that's
Yeah.
riveting stuff.
getting artificial turf.
Artificial turf. Is this breaking news?
In the
Have you
parking
announced this
lot?
yet?
I learned that yesterday.
Well, there you go. If you have been to EST HQ in the past or haven't yet, artificial turf being installed this season. Do we know where we're getting it from? Is it like a recycled from a different franchise, like a sports kind of building it in? I think yesterday, too, they were digging down really deep. They discovered a tree stump. So they had to deal with that. Like it was kind of underground. Yeah.
I heard the artificial turf is coming from the putting greens in Shanks. Recycled.
Great timing on that one. Great timing on that one. Have we talked, it's the Bowman talk today, right? Stan Bowman. We're going to have the, yeah, exactly. But we've gone over everything. Have we discussed his actual GMing? And I've been preparing for the EST draft here for a while. So, I mean, let's just take the hockey angle of it all and everything else that's very loud in the room aside. I was perusing some of his deals back when he had the Blackhawks under his realm. I don't know. Like, is this the best guy on the market that you're getting? Is it that type of thing? Because I get going through the hockey side of it, everything else aside, it doesn't really scream out to me that, yes, this is a guy we need to identify and go after because these deals done were just, it's outstanding work.
Yeah, it just slam dunks everywhere. I mean, he adopted a team that Dale Talon built.
Fair.
He didn't draft 3 or 4 of those major superstars.
And the drafting since during his tenure, too, was
Subpar.
up for debate. Yep.
Average at best. You win some, you lose some when you're trading. Panarin, whatever.
Nobody's got a dazzling 100% record in deals. But
Right. You lose Bufflin, you find Bickle. Good for you. At the end of the day, finding those Bickles is no different than what we just did with Henrique. When you're winning, people want to go play there.
Blind squirrel and nut and all that thing, too. Like, there are hockey players around that are serviceable, and you just, Ken Holland's been taking some pretty good deals in his lap, and players just kind of falling here without you're not even having to make a trade or anything such as that. So this will be a press conference. I think Dusty coined the term in the one word fascinating, to which how it's going to be handled,
No doubt.
who's kind of going to be being there, leading the charge, that sort of thing. But, lots of ways to view this one. I did read, and there was a... you want back here, Mandy, or are you coming in?
I'll just jump in here because I'll just maybe need you just in case.
Yeah, there was the Sheldon Kennedy as well report. It was a 3-pager.
The respect group.
Yeah, respect group. I read
came up
that
last week.
after the show. These lots of things can be corrected at once, and if he's we talk second chances, okay, great. And again, I don't mean to. You guys have probably gone over this already, but why here and why now, and why do the Oilers feel like they need to give him second chances in anything? You kind of go back to the bottom again, or that's kind of what you're supposed to be doing, not overseeing another group of people to what you were doing before. So, curious appointment there in that specific position.
I'm not trying to undermine what Sheldon Kennedy said. I just don't care.
Well,
is that fair? I don't.
It's 2024. You read the headline. You can't. It is on all of us to go in, read the details, and read the 54-page report and all this stuff, and that's fine. But how does it translate? Again, we talk about same with the Elks switching quarterbacks. Maybe not the quarterbacks losing, but what do you do to the general populace to just and with all the work done this summer, which was so positive. This organization at times too has put itself in the firing lines for whatever reason. But just the vibe here was so good.
Why?
And I know they've been succeeding on the ice, but good off the ice for the first time in such a long time. That
this is the best offseason in the history of our franchise.
And again, with Jeff Jackson coming out and saying he doesn't necessarily want to do it, just you have 2 roads, a nice paved one, and then a dirt track that's filled with obstacles, and you're choosing to go down the tough one here. Doesn't make sense to me. Both with again, you mentioned the headlines, and you can read into the report, but just his GMing, just his body of work when it comes to strictly hockey. Is that the best out there right now? And we were having names texted in, thrown into the nasty chat over the last couple of weeks. Some really interesting ones. You can maybe identify as players that, not players, but like in the executive role that you give this guy a chance here, and he might be somebody like a fresh face, a younger name, under the tutelage of a Jeff Jackson or something, and working together.
Yeah. How much of his success came from the fact that he got to call his dad for advice?
That's hockey.
Scotty's one of the best.
It's hockey, baby.
Right? I don't know. It's hard for me to give him too much credit for what he did in Chicago, and it's also...
And that's where I kind of want to stick this. This is a.
We'll never know, though.
We'll never know, but again, just the body of work. I raise an eyebrow on that, just on itself, not to mention everything else. But nasty chat, someone along. When's this thing? It's 10:30.
10:30. We just hit 10:30. I'm just waiting for the press conference to begin. As soon as that happens, we'll send it over. Hopefully, everything is working as it should be. It looks like it is. So we should be able to air it, no problem.
We don't kind of know who's the people there today. Like that's still a bit of a mystery.
Jeff Jackson,
yeah.
Paul, and
And Stan
Bowman, it sounds like, based on the Oilers' reporting of this, it says Jeff Jackson, Stan Bowman will be available to the media 10:30 today in the Hall of Fame room at Rogers Place. So I'm not expecting we'll see anyone else. Not expecting we'll see Daryl Cates. I do remember when Ken Holland was hired, Daryl Cates was there.
Right. That's why I kind of ask.
But so now it seems like, but there was also no one above him type thing. Are we here live? Okay, let's go to the press conference now.
Really excited to officially announce Stan Bowman as the 11th general manager in Edmonton Oilers history. Really exciting day for us to be here. We all put on a suit today, which is also an exciting thing in the middle of summer. We're going to start with some opening comments from our CEO of Hockey Operations, Jeff Jackson, followed by some comments from Stan, and then we'll jump into media Q&A. During the media Q&A, we'll just ask you to state your name and who you're with before you ask the question. So without further ado, excited to turn things over to Jeff Jackson for some opening remarks. Jeff?
Thanks, Tim. Good morning, everybody. Thanks, everybody, for being here, taking time out of your summer to be here for our announcement. Very happy and excited to welcome Stan as our new general manager, executive vice president of hockey. I sat here a little under a year ago talking to many of you about Daryl Cates' vision for the organization and my thoughts on trying to be best in class in everything we do, and I was going to take some time to assess things. I think we've made some strides over the last 12 months, and I think adding someone of Stan's experience and stature in the game to our group is a real step forward, and super excited to have you, Stan.
Thanks, Jeff.
Stan and I share a vision about how to put a team together on the ice and also try to be an elite organization in the front office, forward-thinking and progressive. We spent a lot of time talking about that, and I feel very, very comfortable that our visions are aligned in that regard. I spent a number of weeks interviewing a bunch of excellent candidates from across the league. And I kept coming back to the fact that, Stan, with his experience as a general manager and his success in Chicago, having won 3 cups during his tenure there, having gone through and learned a lot about himself and about the need to try to make a difference in hockey culture, I just kept coming back to he was the guy, and he was the one that I ultimately decided on, obviously, so that's why we're sitting here today. And I know that some of you are going to have questions about Stan's tenure in Chicago. Let me be very clear. What happened at Kyle Beach in 2010 was wrong, was horrible. It wasn't handled properly. At the time, I think Stan has acknowledged and taken full responsibility for the inadequate response. But I also know that he's spent a great deal of time in the 2.5 years since then to educate himself, to try to learn. He's done a lot of work with Sheldon Kennedy, who's one of the foremost experts in the field of abuse, sexual and otherwise, and has. I think he came out last week with his op-ed supporting Stan, which was, to me, part of my process was talking to Sheldon. Because I knew that he had done a lot of work with Stan over the years. And when I talked to Sheldon a couple weeks ago, he gave a full endorsement of Stan's work, his commitment, the fact that he's sure that he learned from his mistakes. So that was a big part of the decision for me. We wouldn't have made this hire without knowing that Stan had done all that work. Sheldon asked if he could be here today to support Stan. We're honored that he's here. I have a long relationship with Sheldon. It goes back 20, 25 years, all the way back to the start of the Respect Group when it was in its infancy. And I respect his opinion on this, and so I'm glad that he's here today. Thanks for coming. So in closing, I'm very excited to welcome Stan. Super excited to work alongside him as we try to be an elite organization both on and off the ice, and I'm sure Stan's going to bring not only his hockey acumen, but his the things that he's learned in the last couple of years to make us a better organization and help us create a culture, a really good culture around our great sport. So thanks, and Stan, I'll turn it over to you for a few remarks.
Thanks, Jeff. Hello, everybody. I'm very excited and honored to be sitting here in front of you, to be able to restart my career in the game of hockey. I've loved the sport of hockey since I was a little kid, and I've had a chance to reflect on things over the last couple of years since I've been out of the game. So I'd like to kind of look forward to where we're headed with the organization and with my role. So I'm not here to relitigate the past, but I do think it's important to start off by touching on my departure from the Blackhawks in a couple seasons ago. I can tell you in this room and everyone watching, as well as something I've said directly to Kyle Beach, that my response was inadequate back in 2010. I didn't handle things properly. I should have done more. And that's something I regret, and it's something that I've had a chance to reflect on and try to learn from. As he mentioned, I've had a chance to get to know some people in the last couple of years, Sheldon Kennedy being one of them. In addition to Sheldon, I've had a chance to work with his group. I've also had a chance to work with Kyle Beach and other people. And in that process, I feel like I've learned some things that I didn't know, and I've learned ways that I could do a better job in the future. And I can tell you without a doubt that those things will never happen on my watch again. I'm looking forward to a chance to make a difference in the organization. And my work with Sheldon has encompassed a couple different areas, in particular with working on the culture of hockey. And I think the situation with Kyle Beach and back in 2010, I think it's become something that we've talked a lot about. And I guess to summarize, it would be, we want to try to make this a better place for the sport better, and I think we can all handle situations better. And the only way to do that is to learn from the mistakes that were made and try to improve. And I'm committed to that. I'm excited for what's ahead. I'm thankful for the NHL and Gary Bettman for giving me a second chance. And in particular, I'm grateful for the Oilers to give me this opportunity. I know how important it is that I be a true leader, and that's something that I'm excited about and I look forward to. So turning to hockey, I can say that just like a lot of the people in this room and in this city, I was a fan watching the playoffs, not only the playoffs, but just the regular season, to see the journey that the Oilers went on this season. And, it was obviously not the ending that we wanted, one game short, but it was impressive to see. I think my reflections would be one of amazement at the excitement of the fans, and without a doubt, this is the best fan base in all of hockey. I watched the passion that they display for the team, the support that they give, both in the arena, outside the arena, in the community. You could tell that the Oilers captivated this town. And, when you're working in sports, the one thing you do want is you want to have that support of your fans. So this is a tremendous opportunity, and it's one that I'm excited to be part of. The guy to my left here did a tremendous job this summer. He and his staff, I think, should be commended for the acquisitions and the additions to the team. It was already a strong group, and I think it's even stronger now. So, the chance to work with some special players, there's some generational talent on this team that, I've had a chance to work with some great players in the past, and I'm so excited for what's to come. So In closing, I just want to thank everyone here, and I know Daryl Cates' vision is to bring the Stanley Cup back to Edmonton, and I can say that I'm all for that.
Thanks very much, gentlemen. We'll open it up to questions right now. I see one over here. Bob Stauffer, go ahead.
Bob Stauffer, Oilers Radio Network. Question for you, Stan. Jeff mentioned Kyle. You mentioned Kyle Beach as well. When's the last time you spoke to Kyle, and have you spoken to him since getting this position as the new general manager of the Edmonton Oilers?
Thanks, Bob. Yes, I actually called Kyle last night to give him a heads up that this was happening today, and we had a nice conversation. We talked for about 15 minutes, and I don't want to share the details of it, but I will say it was a very encouraging conversation, and I should probably share a little bit of a background on how I got to work with Kyle and his team last summer. So when I left the Blackhawks, I reached out to Kyle, and I didn't hear anything back from him. So I understood that, obviously it was a tough time back then. This was shortly after I left the Blackhawks. I didn't get a response. And a few months later, I started working with Sheldon. And in our time together, at one point, Sheldon just said, have you ever talked to Kyle Beach? And I said, I tried to reach him, but I didn't hear back. And he said, I understand that. Sometimes it's a lot to process, and you might not be ready for that. So, you might want to think of giving it some time, but you might want to think about reaching out to him again at some point. So I took that to heart, and then some more time passed. We were doing some things together, which I can get to at a later point in this discussion. But I reached out to Kyle, and the second time I did, I texted him. He responded. He said, "Yeah, I'd be willing to talk." So, I wasn't sure what to make of that call. Like, preparing for it, I didn't know if it was going to be a 30-second call or it was going to be a longer discussion. So my goal in reaching out was to apologize and to let him know that I felt for everything he had went through, and the conversation, we ended up talking probably for close to 90 minutes. Covered a lot of different things. We certainly talked about 2010 and that situation, but then, things shifted. We started talking about his family. He had a young son recently. He was married. He was talking about his playing career ending, and he also talked about now he was a coach. And he asked me what I was working on, and I shared the work that I had been doing with Sheldon and the Respect Group. We had created this charter, which we were working with teams, some junior teams. And when I explained what it was all about, he said, sort of offhand, he said, "Wow, that sounds great. We sure could have used that on our team." And I said, "Well, we are working with teams. Like, if you're really interested, I'd be happy to come work with your team." He said, "Yeah, I sure would. I'm not the head coach. Why don't I, have a conversation?" So then the three of us talked a couple days later, and they were on board. They said, "We'd love to have you come out work with our team." So we scheduled to work with his team as well as the women's team at Trinity Western, where he is. And I think that was a big moment for both of us to go out there. We spent a day and a half together. We certainly reflected on the past, but I think it was more so looking ahead to how we could kind of mend fences, and I could bring something of value to his team. So that was really how it all came to be. This was almost a year ago. It was last August that we worked with his team and with the women's team. So I've kept in touch with him since that point, like throughout their season, and so I understand the interest in that, and I hope that provides some context as to how we've been working together.
Thank you. We'll go to Slav over here on the right.
Hey, Jeff. Is there any concern from your perspective on backlash from fans and a negative perception that this hire could have on the organization?
I think fans are entitled always to their opinion. They have opinions about firing coaches and making trades and everything else. I think that the decision to bring Stan in is one that is in the best interest of the organization for a number of reasons that I touched on in the opening. I have to respect the fans' opinions. I think that Stan's work over the next few years here will dictate how they respond. I think they'd give him a chance. I think that some of the facts that haven't been out there are now getting out into the public. And so I'm not worried about it. My job is to try to make an elite organization and have people that are collaborative and progressive and good people. And I think Stan has all of those things.
Thanks, Jeff. We'll go to Jason.
Stan, Jason Greger, Sports 1440. I read Sheldon's release, and I think we all know that sexual abuse is a real big issue in society. You talked about your conversations with Kyle. What did you learn in your conversations with Sheldon about the destructive power of silence, not only for Kyle, but for not saying anything about Aldrich and his future victims in Miami and then at the Houghton High School?
I think the biggest thing I learned from Sheldon is what you kind of just touched on, which is the negative power of silence and not taking a bigger role. And I think that's what, when I look back on it, that's what I reflect on is, you don't want to assume other people are doing things when you want to take an active role and make sure that things happen that are supposed to happen. So that's a learning experience, and that's what I'm going to take away from that, which is you want to make sure, I think Sheldon said that there's the bystander effect, and you want to make sure that you do what you can to play a part and play an active role in those types of situations.
And just one quick follow-up to that.
Yeah.
In your position now as a general manager of a National Hockey League team and a very passionate fan base, it is a big problem in society, and I know people we talk about sports. Are you going to be able to use your position to further the cause, to change it, and if so, how?
Well, I want to, Jason. What I really believe in is, there is ability to make change and to learn from situations and to grow from them. And I think that's what I look at. And the other thing that Sheldon and I talked a lot about is, and this is really what the charter also helps, is certainly what happened to Sheldon and what happened to Kyle is terrible. And it's fortunately that's not as common as other things that happen on teams. Harassment, hazing, bullying, those things, those are probably more common. So we want to get rid of all of it, not just what happened to Sheldon and happened to Kyle. Those are clearly awful situations. But the charter work is to look at a team where you may not have that going on, but you have other things that can tear at the fabric of the culture on your team. So I think that's what encouraged me, was to, because I don't think you want to focus just on one thing. The whole idea is you want to try to make sure that there's positive things. And this is the way I explain it. I've had a chance to work with, done a lot of work with USA Hockey, working with their kids at the festivals just a couple weeks ago. And what I tell them is, these are kids that are teenagers aspiring to become professional players. And I said, I hope all of you guys in this room become NHL players. Some of you will, some of you won't. Even the ones that do, there's going to be a day when your career is over. And I hope that when you look back on your time as an athlete, from the time you were a kid until the time you finish, I hope you look back with fondness that you had a good experience on that team. Now, certainly what happened to Sheldon, what happened to Kyle, that's not the case. They don't look back with fondness. So how can we make sure that we're doing the things, and the charter is a tool. It's not everything, but it's a process that a team can go through so that they can be supportive and that they can get rid of bad situations. That's really my goal, and it's something that I'm hoping to do, into the future. This isn't something I'm not going to help out anymore. I want to give my time. I want to be devoted to that stuff.
Thank you. Up front here, go ahead.
Thank you so much. It's Shaylan Skolsky with CTV News. The question is actually for both of you, but Stan, to you first. There was a second victim in all of this. Have you made any attempt to reach out to that second victim or his family as part of your reparations? And if not, what is your message to them? And to Jeff, a similar question. Has the organization reached out to that second victim or his family and Kyle Beach as part of your consultations?
I don't want to go into the past. I think Kyle was the person that I had the involvement with, and I know I let Kyle down. And certainly anyone that's been negatively impacted, I feel for them, and I certainly wish they didn't go through that. So, my heart goes out to them, and it's something that I want to try to be better at going forward.
Yeah, and I've spoken with Kyle myself a couple of weeks ago. Had a good conversation. He was very supportive of Stan's reinstatement. As far as the second victim, I don't think anyone knows who that is. I'm not sure who the person is, so it's not possible to reach out to them. I think that if that's something that's necessary, we'll do that. But at this point, I don't know who that person is.
Okay, thank you. Tom, on the right here.
Hey guys, Tom Gazzola, Edmonton Sports Talk. Jeff, I just asked you a decision of this magnitude, significance. Did you have to have conversations within the organization? Did you have to consult with players perhaps and kind of prepare everyone to bring Stan back into the NHL and then, of course, with the Oilers organization?
Well, of course, I talked to Daryl extensively about it, and some of the other senior management in OEG. I did not talk to the players. I think I sat here when we were talking about hiring Chris Knobloch. Same situation applies. The players, they're consulted on many things on a day-to-day basis, about their travel, about their practice schedule, about how they're feeling about things. They're not consulted on firing and hiring coaches or general managers. That's not what they want. They don't want to do that. So, no, I didn't talk to the players about it, but I did talk to Daryl and senior management.
Thank you. We'll go to Derek on the left here.
Hey, Stan. Derek Van Diest, NHL.com. I just wanted to ask you, you come into a situation here with this team. They did most of the heavy lifting in the offseason. You have the roster set. But I just want to ask you what your vision is for the future of this team. And obviously the big thing that surrounds this team is the signing of Leon Draisaitl, the signing of Connor McDavid in 2 years. How are you seeing this team develop, and what's your vision for this team in the future?
Sure. Yeah, great question. Well, starting with Leon, I mean, Leon's a star player, and he's top priority for me. I mean, I want Leon to be an Oiler for life, and he's a fantastic player. I've enjoyed watching him play, and I think what sets him and Connor apart from pretty much anyone else is in the game is they're certainly stars, but they're that rare breed that can elevate their game in the playoffs, which is a hard thing to do. I mean, the games get harder. The attention on them gets higher, and you look at their performance, and they're the best there is. So, yes, I think that's a priority. They clearly are a big part of what we're doing, but it does take a team to win. So I think as looking into the future, what we want to try to do is and there's a great supporting cast right now. I mean, this is a great roster that Jeff has assembled. There's certainly a lot to be excited about. And in the coming years, there's always going to be challenges with the salary cap and but when you have the hardest thing to do in the game is to get star players. That's it. That's the hardest thing to do. We've got them, and they're a huge part of this community, this team, and they're going to be going forward.
What parallels do you see in this team than the one you inherited in Chicago? Are there similarities there?
Certainly some common elements to have those star players. When in Chicago, Kane and Taves were just starting their careers, and Seabrook and Keith, and those guys were younger than now. Connor and Leon are in the prime of their career, but I think there are some differences. But I think the key thread between both of them is you have those impact players that can make such a difference. But I look back at the success that our teams had, and as great as those stars were, it really was a team effort, and I think that's what you want to try to build. And I think it's going to be important to spend some time getting to know the coaching staff. I mean, just from afar, I thought they did a tremendous job this year. It was great to see the impact that they had on the team. So that I'm looking forward to learning from them, and looking forward to meeting the players and learning from them as well. I've found over my time as a general manager, I really like to talk to the players to understand how they see the game. I mean, they're closest to it. They're the ones on the ice, and they love watching. And I find they're really good students of the game, so you can pick things up and learn. Like Jeff said, they don't want to be in charge of doing a manager's or a coach's job, but I do think it's important to tap into their knowledge. I mean, they're great for a reason. It's because they study it and they have a lot of interesting ideas. So I plan, to form that relationship and that connection.
Great, thank you. At the back here, back left. Go ahead.
Hey, Stan. Adam Zagarelli with City News. Were there any other opportunities that were presented to you when you were cleared to return to work, be it in other leagues, other roles, other positions, besides the Oilers general manager position?
Yes, there were. But when I was contacted by Jeff, that immediately got my attention. I mean, like I said, I watched this team and I see, and I have a relationship with Jeff going back to when he was an agent. We had some of his players in Chicago, so I've just kept in touch even since I left. I've kept in touch with just a number of people, colleagues that I used to work with, and so I've always been impressed with his approach, his mind. We've had a lot of conversations just about the business of hockey, the agency side of things. So when he reached out and we started talking, then that clearly went to the top of the list.
Thank you. Just stay on the left here. Go ahead.
Yeah, Preston, Daily Hive, Edmonton. This move on social media has garnered quite a bit of a negative reaction from a section of the fan base. So I just want to give you an opportunity to kind of address fans who woke up this morning and maybe weren't too happy to see the news.
Thanks for the question. I understand that. Listen, I respect people's opinion, and one thing I've learned over time is it's very difficult to try to talk people into things. So I'm not going to try to make an argument on why they should feel a certain way. The fans are perfectly, and I respect that. I respect the way that they feel. I think what I would say is it's going to be my job to try to win them over. And I think the goal is to try to do it through your actions as opposed to what you're saying. I understand where they're coming from, and I want to try to earn their respect over time, and it may not come right away, and that's okay. I'm going to stick with it. I'm here to make a difference, not only to make this team better on the ice, but to bring change and a positive environment around the whole team.
Thanks very much, Stan. At the back here, go ahead.
Eric Bay, Global News. Jeff, what are the Oilers doing to ensure a situation like what happened in Chicago doesn't happen again here in Edmonton?
Well, I guess since over the past 10 to 12 to 14 years, there's been a lot of this sort of stuff in society, and all organizations, good organizations, whether they're law firms or companies, our company OEG, we have mandatory training for safe workplace, for harassment. Everybody that works here has to take part in the program. So to the extent that we're all more educated in 2024, and we have to take these programs and live by them. It's part of a mandatory part of our employment. So I feel that's already in place here at OEG, and like I said in my remarks, like adding Stan's expertise and the work he's done is only going to make our hockey team better in that regard, because he's going to be able to pay it forward and teach all of us in the hockey department some of the things that we may not know right now.
Thank you. Yeah, we got time for a couple more here. We'll go to Jack Michaels.
Stan, Jack Michaels, Sportsnet. Just to follow up a little bit on what Derek was asking, you were able to extend that championship window to 7 or 8 years in Chicago, but it always seems to close kind of suddenly. Are there things you can take from that experience to apply to a somewhat similar situation where they're looking to extend it out another 4 or 5 years beyond what many people believe?
Yeah, I think that, looking back on my time in Chicago, I think you learn some things from that. And there are challenges in the sport with the salary cap, but everyone's dealing with the same challenge. And I think it's always better when you've got these impact players. They give you such a head start on it. I think the supporting cast is what's important. You have to be able to find players that can come in, whether it's young players or whether it's free agents. I think that's something that's going to be a focus for the organization, at least for me going forward. It's something that I felt was a strength of our group in Chicago, whether it's European free agents, college free agents, CHL free agents. The draft is an important element as well. I think even though you may not have first and second round picks because you're using those to improve your team, there's ways to, if you do it right, you can find players throughout the draft. So we're going to stress that. I'm talking to Jeff, these are things where we're very aligned. And, I feel like that's something I'm very comfortable with. I have a lot of very strong views on, and making sure that it's a priority for us to, at the end of the day, you have to be able to find players to support your core group. Got a great core group here, and the key thing over the coming years is going to be making sure we have players that can come in, whether it's young players or lower priced players, but still make an impact on the roster.
Okay, thank you. Jason?
Stan, you were in Chicago for 10 years, I think, before you got the GM job, and you'd been in the conference final the year before. This is similar. You come in as a GM for a team that's very good. Obviously, last Game 7 of the Cup, but you weren't here previous. So how is that different? How do you have to intertwine yourself to the organization where maybe you don't know as much as you did for those 10 years? How does that change your job as a GM this time? And what did you learn the last time in that first year to help you push the team to the top?
That's true. It was a little different. I had been in Chicago, 9-10 years before I was named GM. So I was familiar with not only all the players, I had a role in bringing them into the team, but also with the staff. So I knew everybody. I think coming in here, I don't know a lot of the people. So the beginning for me is going to be, building those relationships. I do think it's important to get to know people on a personal level, like our staff, our coaches, the people surrounding the support staff on the team, because they play a big role. What gets the most attention is the players that step on the ice and play the game. And at the end of the day, that's what matters, because they determine whether you win or lose. But you need to also have a cohesive group. So I think I'm looking forward to that, actually, the chance to work with people that I haven't known before, to learn some new things. I certainly bring my experiences in, which I'm going to draw upon. I've got a lot of those, but I'm looking for new ideas. I'm looking for how we can innovate and be different and do things that maybe haven't been done before. So I'm going to be trying to get information and get ideas from people. So it's different, but they've got a great, and there's a lot of great pieces here. The team looks excellent. The one thing I've learned also, just talking about the team itself, which I guess I learned the hard way, is it's natural for all of us to look at last year's team and then figure we just need that one piece. And then, but I learned that's next year's team is going to be next year's team. You don't want it to be last year's team and try to recreate what you had. You have to look into it. There's going to be things that are different, even with the same players. I think the natural human reaction is well, this is where we were last year. We're just going to pick up where we left off and go from there. But my experience is that there's always some things that are even better than you thought, and some other things that don't go the way you thought. Like you expect, this is more like tactically, you expect like, well, we're just going to be, they had an incredible penalty kill and incredible power play in the playoffs, and we're going to be like that to start the year. I certainly hope we are, but chances are there's probably going to be some things that you are counting on aren't going to be there, and you're going to have to find ways to adapt. So really, it's looking forward as opposed to looking back and trying to recreate like what was good last year. I think you have to start with a baseline of certain things were successful and try those again. But I'm actually excited to talk to the coaches and the players about let's look forward to what next year will be, not what last year was.
Thank you. Final question to Tom Gazzola.
We're seeing kind of a shift in hockey front offices, tandems taking over, handling situations and negotiations and stuff like that. Jeff and Stan, I'd ask you how the tandem and dynamic will work between you two, especially considering the significance of Leon's contract coming up, Evan Bouchard and Connor McDavid also needing new deals.
Yeah, I mean, the model that we're going to have here in Edmonton is that we're going to work as a team. Stan's the general manager. He'll run the team day to day, but I've said this over the last month when I've been asked several times if I wanted to be the GM. I'm an active CEO. What that means is that I'm talking to the general manager often. I'm talking to the coach often. I'm not meddling, but I have my input. And Stan and I have he mentioned we have a long relationship that goes back to when we were both assistant general managers in the league, and then as an agent, I'm very confident that we'll work really well together, bounce stuff off each other. When we're doing the negotiations, we'll do them together, and Stan will take the lead, and I'll be there to support.
I think it's a great asset to have. I mean, Jeff's experience working on the team side, then going to become an agent, so he understands, how the agents are thinking, how the players are thinking, and I certainly want to tap into that. So I think it's a true collaboration. Like I love this stuff. I love to talk hockey all day long, and I don't have all the answers by far. I want to learn things from Jeff, and I know together we can get things done. So I think that's going to be something that's a great collaboration. I can't wait to get started.
Great. All right, that ends the formal press conference. I want to thank everybody for your attendance today. Also want to thank Sheldon Kennedy for being here today. Sheldon will be available for interviews following the formal press conference. We're just going to clear the stage.
And that will wrap up
So thank you very much.
the press conference as the Edmonton Oilers, they announce Stan Bowman as the new general manager and executive vice president of the Edmonton Oilers. Stan Bowman and Jeff Jackson there speaking to the media. Yeah, you're tuned into EdmontonSportsTalk.com, on TuneIn, iHeartRadio, EdmontonSportsTalk.com, as well as on YouTube. That's going to wrap up the Hangout. Coming up next, it will be an extended 2-hour edition of the Oil Stream. Tom Gazzola is going to be coming back to the station. Dusty will be on the air. We're going to have Gager. We're going to have Derek Van Diest, hopefully. But thanks for tuning in to the EST Hangout presented by Two Hoots. Hard Iced Tea. Oil Stream coming up in just a few minutes right here on Edmonton Sports Talk. Don't go anywhere.
Look at this. Let's go.
There you go, right in front of the camera.
First-time guest, long-time listener, fan of the original draft commissioner.
Welcome to the EST Hangout presented by White Claw Hard Seltzer. The difference is clear. Matt Iwanyk, Tom Zola with here, joining us today.